Hey Charlie, a Wookiee got a really bad haircut. Did you hear about it?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, he was so mad. He was really infuriated.
Oh my God.
Not my best stuff. Not my best stuff.
Not your best, but we'll take it regardless.
Wanna buy some death stick? Roger, roger.
Jedi.
That's not a moon. It's a space station.
Always a pleasure to meet a Jedi.
Anakin, my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy!
You failed, Your Highness. I'm a Jedi.
Hello, explorers.
You am
I'm
a
Charlie,
Jedi.
and
You are.
welcome to episode 112. As always, thank you very, very much for joining us. If you like what you hear, please leave us a rating on your podcast provider of choice. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you're joining us via YouTube.
Yes, and as always, welcome back, or welcome if this is your first time tuning in. I'm Jimmy, and before we get started, Charlie, how are things going?
Things are going good. I am now precisely 1 week away from supposedly moving house, and suddenly I've realized I've got more to pack than I thought I did. So, will I be doing any of that? No. Will I be procrastinating and watching Star Wars? Absolutely.
Nice.
Jimmy, how are you doing? I feel like you've had the busiest of weeks.
Yeah, just we got back this morning, a Sunday. We got back at 3:45 in the morning. Took a little nap, as you will, and then got up and got started. And just 2 weeks at home was great. Um, so, but yeah, so tired. We're gonna get through this. Be awesome. Can't wait to talk about our main topic today. And I think that you have a fun fact for us. Do you not?
I do indeed. Now, this one is probably very, very well known for some of us. In fact, anyone who's been a Star Wars fan for a long time will know this, but it's one of my favorites. I could not resist adding in a fact about my favorite Jedi of all time, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Did you know that during filming, Ewan McGregor made lightsaber noises as he dueled? George Lucas explained many times that the sound effects would be added in by the special effects team in post. And Ewan said in an interview, I just kept getting carried away. Now, another example of a cast member getting carried away would be the fantastically beautiful Laura Dern. In her scene where she uses a blaster, you can clearly see Admiral Holdo going a pew pew. And I also wouldn't be able to stop myself. I'm sorry.
That would be difficult.
Unbearably difficult. Oh my goodness me. Shall we head on over to Force Encounters?
Absolutely.
For my ally is the Force.
The Star Wars rewatch continues, guys. It continues. I've finished season 3 of Mando. Absolutely cried my eyes out. Kind of forgot how much I love Bo-Katan and her entire storyline. Watching her get kind of rebaptized, re-becoming a Mandalorian, all of that scene. I was very emotional. It made me very emotional. But my most important Force encounter this week. So, some listeners might know that before I had the pleasure of being invited to join Explore the Force, I was with a podcast called Clone Army Radio. And for the last kind of 6 months or so of doing that show, it was just me and my co host, Johnny. And we had a wonderful time. But life got super, super busy for both of us. And we decided that it was best to take some time away. And that's how I ended up finding Explore the Force. Now, out of nowhere, we had like a 5 page email on the Clone Army Radio Gmail account from an incredibly lovely person called Alex Turley, who said how much he missed us, how much he missed the show, how much he must have missed hearing us, and also that he's been following me since my first ever Star Wars podcast, which is absolutely crazy to me that there's someone who's been listening to me for the last 5 years that I've been doing this, and that's Really special and really touching. So not only was I crying over that, but my wonderful past co-host Johnny asked if I would like to do a reunion episode with him and his old co-host Lito and Mike, get the gang back together, do an episode for old time's sake, just to say hi and a proper bye to everybody. And hopefully that will be being organized soon, and I'll be able to share it with all of you guys because I love them to pieces, and it was going to be so cool. I'm so excited to chat to them all again. I've missed everyone. But don't worry,
Oh,
I'm not leaving ETF. Don't even worry.
not gonna happen, folks. But
Mm-mm,
we're gonna get
mm-mm.
getting Charlie's origin story, so that'll be good. So yeah, I had some good stuff too. I know I missed everybody last week because even though I was glamping, we did not have great internet. We
No.
had internet though in our cabin, so I mean, it is what it is. I finished Trials of the Jedi, so the end of the High Republic in this phase is that we know at 1, 2, and 3. The way the book finishes, there's got to be a lot more. Just a satisfying conclusion. Maybe not everything I would have done. There was characters missing. Like, I started thinking about some people. I was like, man, this person wasn't even mentioned. So
Mm.
I feel like there's a lot left to tell us if they want to. But overall, very satisfying. We should be getting some people together, I think, next week to talk about that book. And then we're getting a small council together to diving into the High Republic itself overall, and just going to talk about the initiative and if those kinds of things. We'll bring in a lot of people in that have been with us: Marie, Johnny, Taylor. Hopefully, this dad reads Jason. We'll try to make that all work out. So I'm really excited for that because this has been a really, I reference the High Republic constantly on, and I know
Mm-hmm.
people probably like, Jimmy,
No.
shut up. We don't read. We don't know how to read, Jimmy. So I got to do that. So that was really cool. And then of course, just spending time with all my family. We went camping. We had 70 people there, and that wasn't everybody. But nieces and nephews, lots of Star Wars questions and lots of Star Wars conversations, and just it's always fun to have that and to spread some positivity as much as I can. So yeah, so those are my Force encounters, and I'm sure I'm forgetting something. I want to give a shout out to my Aunt Amy first and foremost. We do this auction thing, and she always gets good Star Wars stuff, and she lets me go through it before it goes to auction.
Yeah.
So I got
We
a
love that.
vintage trivia, originally trilogy set trivia, like, and then I got some toys from 1997's. The 97? Wait, 95, 97. Nope, I'm going the wrong way. 99, 2000 and what, 3. It's still in the packages from Burger King, Revenge of the Sith. I'm not I told you I am tired. But yeah, they're still in the packages, man. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, so that's my Force encounters, lots and lots. I probably could do a whole show on the Star Wars stuff that happened. But we have a ton of news, so let's head over to Bat2 and see what's coming out of there.
The people in this crowd will soon be among almost 40,000.
For those who are among the 900 with news media or promotional tickets, the sneak preview probably will be the only chance to see the Empire Strikes Back.
I wanted to take a moment before we dive into the rest of the show to share that we have sadly lost another icon of Star Wars. On the 30th of June, it was announced that actor Kenneth Colley had passed away, most known to us fans as the unlucky recipient of Vader's terrifying force stroke, Admiral Pyent. His agent released a statement saying, Ken Colley was one of our finest character actors with a career spanning 60 years. Ken continually worked on stage, film, and television, playing a vast array of characters, from Jesus in his Monty Python's Life of Brian, to evil and eccentric characters in Ken Russell films and the Duke of Vienna in Shakespeare's Measure for Measure for the BBC. May the force be with his family and his friends at this time. The contribution of British actors to the original Star Wars trilogy carries a very, very special legacy, and Ken will be fondly remembered by many for his work and his talent.
Yeah, Admiral Piet. Oh,
Mm.
he's just like I mean, I don't know. I know they don't. None of the admirals have big roles and stuff like that, but they just, we are starting to lose them,
We are,
and
and
it's
like you say, a small role, but so essential to building the iconography of Vader, the idea of Vader, the fear, the terror, all of these gentlemen that contributed and participated because, bless, everything was being filmed in Pinewood on a tight budget with barely anybody to get their hands on. So George was going through the roster of all of the British actors that he could possibly find who had that particular accent from that particular era, and we ended up with something so kind of magical and wonderful, and it makes me sad every time we lose another kind of part of that family.
For sure. For sure. I also now, yeah. All right. So CDCC San Diego Comic-Con this year. No Star Wars or Marvel.
Mm.
It's according to multiple insiders and the article from the Wrap, Marvel Studios, Lucasfilm, Star Wars, Warner Brothers, DC, Legendary, so Dune and Godzilla, Sony, Spider-Man, Lionsgate, John Wick, Paramount, Star Trek are all skipping a film presence at the conference famed Hall H, 6,500 seat venue that has traditionally served as a launch pad for major franchise announcements and the premiere of exclusive sneak peeks. Oh, that's kind of an end of an era.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a lot. That's everybody. I mean, that is like everybody. I mean,
yeah.
because you've got DC, Marvel, Star Wars, John Wick. I mean, the Dune stuff. What's left? What's happening? Something's happened.
Uh,
Something behind the scenes has to have happened,
Something.
right?
A lot of the speculation I've seen says that this is to do with tight schedules, budget limitations. Obviously, there's still an awful lot going on. Like there's Ahsoka season 2 is being filmed at the moment. There's so much Star Wars stuff going on. They've already announced a bunch of stuff, but like you say, Hall H is like the iconic. That's where we saw Tom Hiddleston return for his role as Loki, and like that's one of the most kind of iconic things that sticks in people's minds when you think about Comic Con. So this is really, really surprising. I'm sure we'll get like Hasbro and HasLabs and Funko, and we'll get kind of those bits of Star Wars, but I don't anticipate we're getting any announcements. And to not have DC or Legendary there, like this is surprising. Really
Yeah, it's kind of
surprising.
crazy. Yeah, but we'll see what happens. I mean, I know like D23 has really kind of taken over for
Yeah.
Disney. I mean, money grab. I mean, everyone's trying to save money by sending people and then make money by having more people
Mm.
come to their stuff. And Disney's got it. I mean, because they've got Avatar, they've got Star Wars, they got Marvel, they've got anything Disney and Pix, whatever. So, I mean, they're in on themselves. But it's kind of sad to see that because, was it just like the 50th not too long ago for San Diego Comic Con?
Yeah.
So that's kind of a bummer.
Well, I'll tell you what's less of a bummer for all of our for all of our Lego Star Wars fans out there. Bum, ba, bum, bum, ba, 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 we are getting a brand new sequel to the highly amusing and entertaining Rebuild the Galaxy. You can see Obi-Wan pointing to it over here. On top of this, Dan Stevens from 2017's Beauty and the Beast, Legion, and the fantastic horror film The Ritual is officially joining the galaxy far, far away. The British actor will voice Solitus, a mysterious fallen Jedi, in the upcoming animated series Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy Pieces of the Past. This show is set to premiere on September the 19th, 2025 on Disney Plus. But wait, it gets better. There aren't just some new voices in the cast, but some familiar ones too. The series will also introduce Lego Brickhead's Ahsoka Tano, voiced by Ashley Eckstein, and the green furry smuggler Jackson, who's voiced by Ben Schwartz from Parks and Recs and Sonic the Hedgehog.
I can't believe they're bringing Jackson into it.
I know.
It'd be very cool. This is great. I mean, if we can count on these coming out, because didn't Rebuild the Galaxy just come out last year?
Yeah, it did. It really hasn't been that long since the last one. It's a bad Star Wars fan, I know. I not actually one that I've watched yet, but I really enjoy this idea of playing with the kind of non-existent canon through the format of Lego. I feel like it opens up so much, so
Yeah.
much.
It's like the one place that fans are okay with canon being broken and like,
Hmm.
for a weird thing, like for the fandom that we have and how divisive we all are with each other, it seems like, unfortunately, Lego Star Wars seems to be a safe place to have a little
Hmm.
bit of fun. And so, but yeah, this will be great. I mean, if we get this every year or every whatever, um, this looks cool. The poster of it looks great. If you're watching on YouTube, if not, go check it out on probably anywhere Disney. Um, the bad guy's got some red, scary Sith eyes, but he's got these awesome purple lightsabers.
Yeah.
So looks very cool. and a brickhead Ahsoka Tano.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. That will be interesting.
I'm always happy to have Ashley back in the VA booth as well. That's always good to hear.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, all right. I'm
Well,
here for it. Let's go.
I'm absolutely here for it as well. We've also had some potentially exciting updates about the newest Star Wars series, animated series, Maul Shadow Lord. Super, super exciting. According to Star Wars Holocron on Twitter, the series will be written by Matt. I apologize, I'm not going to pronounce your last name correctly. Macnavets, who once worked on the cancelled game Star Wars 1313.
Ooh, very exciting.
Mick Nivets was also the head writer of Clone Wars Season 6 and 7. He co wrote the story for the game Jedi Fallen Order, and he partly wrote Tales of the Underworld. Of course, they would bring somebody in with such a back catalogue of experience, and any time 1313 is mentioned, I get excited. Have you guys talked about 1313 on your show? But post
We have not
pre
gone.
me?
We have mentioned it a lot, especially with like
Mm,
underworld stuff. We thought that like Boba Fett was going to be different. Well, I guess
mm,
we weren't really around for Boba Fett, but we have. It has come up in conversations. I'm not sure how familiar. I'm sure our listeners and viewers are familiar with the concept, the video. Is it still out there? The trailer
yes, it is.
on
All of it's on
YouTube.
YouTube, what little there is.
Potential the potential for this game would have been glorious. And this is super exciting news to bring someone in with, of course, we got a last name that we're going to have to pronounce. We'll just call him Matt M from now on, maybe.
Yeah, Matt M.
But that's a really great. I mean, season 6 and 7, Fallen Order, Tales of the Underworld. I mean, yes, please,
Yeah.
yes, please. So that's really exciting. Just makes me even more fired up for Shadow Lord. You're going to get
Hmm.
great voice acting, Sam Witwer and crew, and
Hee hee hee.
and yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Speaking of Darth Maul, did anyone spot the Darth Maul Easter egg in season 2 of Andor? Anyone?
I
Anyone?
certainly didn't, but here it is.
Yeah, so if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it. If not, you should go to Luke Hall on Instagram. You can find it there. Screen Rant said this: production designer Luke Hall took to Instagram to share one of the stunning spider murals. Oh yeah, this is from Gorman. Okay, from Planet Gorman, as noted by Jammin333 on Twitter. This design is deliberately an evocation Darth Maul with a Sith apprentice was resurrected in Star Wars: The Clone Wars. It was a cybernetic spider legs added to the mix, making this Darth Maul reference so very smart. Yeah. For people, that's the confusing part because people don't know that he came back and had spider legs, and
He
you're like,
did.
what? Yes, you just go with it. It works surprisingly. You know, can you imagine being in the room and Dave Filoni's like, "We're gonna bring Darth Maul back," and you're like, "Wait, what?" Or maybe it was a George thing. I can't remember. And
Spider
then
legs.
yeah, and yes, and it gets better, folks. Spider legs, mechanical spider legs. Um, but yeah, this is really cool. Um, what does it say? Since Andor is currently up for 23 separate Emmy nominations, everyone's work and contributions deserve celebrating. This looks, I, this is really cool, and I love the fact that they sneak this in, and I think
Hmm.
people are kind of less likely to look for things because we're famously Tony Gilroy doesn't care about Star Wars.
No, not
Um,
at all.
but the people working on that show just slipping things in, and yeah, this is awesome.
This is an absolute like masterclass of detail. I believe this is simply just like a mural on a wall or on the floor. It's for a little bit of audio descript for people who might not be watching the video version of this. It's a circular kind of floor or wall tile with a spider in the middle of it, as is per the Gorman tradition. But the spider very clearly looks like Darth Maul. You can see his eyes, you can see his face markings, you can see his nose, and like Jimmy said, because Darth Maul was resurrected at one point as a cybernetic half man, half spider creature in the Clone Wars. This is a particularly clever reference. And yeah, Tony Gilroy might sit there and say that he doesn't care about Star Wars, but the production team definitely do. And I love Star Wars's aptitude and passion for slipping these little things in the background where not everyone will notice, but the eagle eyed fans definitely will.
Man, it's yeah, it's just these little things like this that, I mean, and I don't even think about the connection. Like you think about these posh, they're supposed to be like the French and the
Hmm.
fashion district, but then the big scary spiders are their thing. I just think it's kind of a cool contrast to um, to that culture. But yeah, the fact that they just slip these things in there, that attention to detail, I mean, it just makes Andor even better.
Oh, 100%. I would also like to say once again, Andor deserves all 23 of those Emmys. I want to see Tony
Just give
Gilroy
them to them.
struggle to get off stage by holding them. I need this.
Absolutely.
So, our last little news story this week is a little bit of a long one, so grab a snack if you want to grab a snack. I'm so sorry, explorers, that we missed this one last week. Let me just remove Darth Maul. Look at that. So, thanks to Collider for this story. John Watts lit the world on fire with his work on Star Wars Skeleton Crew, yeah, which debuted at the end of 2024 and cemented itself as one of the best Star Wars projects ever. Yes, Collider, I 100% agree. Skeleton Crew wrapped up its first season on January 14th. Stop, it's not been that long. And almost 6 months later, there has been no news about a potential season two. Collider's Steve Weintraub recently moderated a panel with Watts, who has an exclusive deal with Disney at the Mediterranean Film Festival, and asked if he was done with the franchise or he could see himself returning. And Watts said, I love Star Wars and I would love to make more Star Wars. I can't say anything more. We always get in trouble when we do these interviews. I always say something and I get in trouble. Like, I probably shouldn't have said that. You're going to get me in trouble. Watts and his co-creator Christopher Ford told Collider last year that they have plans for a second season of Skeleton Crew, ones that include the core group of kids being aged up to avoid a Stranger Things situation. Completely fair. Weintraub and Watts also spoke about the future of Star Wars, which has been somewhat murky after multiple projects have been announced with no updates or developments even years later. When asked if he was apprehensive about getting stuck into a situation with an announced project stuck in development if he were to work on a Star Wars movie, Watts expressed a much more positive outlook, crediting other Star Wars titans, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, who know how to finish the job. He said, the two people that I worked with, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, as my main producers on Skelly Crew, both made Star Wars movies. Well, Dave hasn't made his yet. Favreau made his, so I know that for sure. So it was like, if we have something we want to make, we're going to make it. I don't know about the rest of the development process and the people who come in and how large the Star Wars universe is, but at least in our little umbrella of Star Wars, our corner of the Star Wars sandbox, we were able to do things. Even if I worked on a Star Wars thing and it never happened, it's really fun to just use your imagination and make up things that could happen. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm absolutely jumping the shark. That is yes, confirmation for season two. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go.
Yes, I think that first part of his, that you always get me in trouble, I shouldn't have said that kind of thing. And then, of course, the stuff that Ravi said he was getting ready to go shoot. Who knows if that's it
Mm.
or not? Super secretive. And even way back when we had, I always want to call her KB. That is not her name. Kiriana. Um, she made some jokes and laughed about some things, and I think they'd be silly not to watch it. Although I will say this, my nephew Hank hasn't watched it. He said he didn't like the first episode, and I was like, what? And I didn't get a chance to like forcibly make him watch it. So, um, but it is what it is. Second season, I'm here for it. What a great show! What a great ride! I know like Jack and Mike, they loved that show as well. And I mean, I don't remember a whole lot of negativity coming out about it. People were being a little bit smarter, not attacking kids. But I'm definitely down for anything that Watson Ford want to do. I'm
Hmm.
curious about timing because we got Spider Man, whatever, Spider Man
Yeah.
4. So I don't know when that's going to happen. But yeah, I'm absolutely here for those guys to get back into Star Wars as soon as possible.
Just more Star Wars. I feel like this is I'm a simple creature. All I want in life is just more Star Wars forever until the end of time. Please and thank you. Amen. So, Jimmy, are you ready to head over into the main show?
Let's do it.
It's just a simple jump to hyperspace and we're there? What's so tricky about that?
Plenty. Can't plot a direct course to Kessel.
You might want to buckle up, baby.
Hello, explorers. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the main show. Now, listen, we definitely had a topic already planned for this week, but as you guys know, the galaxy works in very, very mysterious ways. So imagine our surprise to wake up one morning, and see the news sites and social media pages for Star Wars absolutely blowing up with some hot, fresh, spicy, spicy rumors about a season 2 of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now, before we all lose our Jedi robes, we've got to break that down. So, Jimmy, source Daniel RPK, i.e., Daniel Rickman, via his Patreon. Who broke it first? I do believe it was a Forbes article that broke this news first, which is, as we know, decently legitimate source. We love to hear from it. Games Radar followed suit, and it was picked up by basically kind of every Star Wars news page that most of you will frequent, follow. Star Wars News, our friends are all Star Wars fans. Legitimacy rating. This is where we get a little bit sticky. Rickman has a relatively spotty kind of track record. He has some insider contacts. I would definitely agree with that. But any information that I have to pay as a fan to access, I'm a little bit suspicious. My hopes aren't terribly high, but I'm willing to give it with a pinch of salt just for the sake of the interesting discussion that's going to come from this. So the quote from the Forbes article that summarizes the Rickman post on his Patreon. Thank you, Forbes, for doing the Lord's work. I really appreciate it. Now, they are quoted as saying there are some potential developments with the series not mentioned above Obi-Wan Kenobi. A new report from insider Daniel Rickman says that season 2 of Kenobi is in development at Lucasfilm. This show aired in 2022, and being in development would probably mean there'd be sort of 4 to 5 years between seasons. That's tends to be how Disney Star Wars works now. We end up with these kind of bigger kind of chunks sort of every half a decade. And Ewan McGregor also spoke in an interview in 2024 about a possible season 2, saying, obviously, between the end of the Kenobi series and when Alec Guinness is Kenobi, there's got to be another few stories in there. We're definitely hoping, or well, exploring that, I think would be the word to say. Jimmy, would you tell us what Games Radar said, if you've not got any
Yeah.
current thoughts and feelings?
Well, in development means anything, though. Like,
Yeah.
that's the trick right there, is in development. But he has said he was down for a season 2. I mean, the story's good.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine them not doing that in development. I mean, at least they're thinking about it. We're not getting season 2 is dead in the water, So I mean, that's positive news, and I'm definitely here for it and have some thoughts. I'm very excited. Games Radar reported on the response from fans, specifically over the Star Wars subreddit. Over on Reddit, a spitballing session began concerning Ewan McGregor's legendary Jedi Knight, which pitches for what could come next, being thrown out. One fan said, based it off the Legends Kenobi novel, which we're going to talk about specifically.
Mm-hmm.
It's a self-contained Tatooine story referring to the 2013 story by John Jackson Miller, which followed Kenobi's first week of self-exile on the desert planet, and is straight up Western. It really is, involving Jabba the Hutt. Another fan agreed, saying this is 100% the answer. It would have to be it would be perfect for a TV miniseries, self-contained, no galactic stakes, no real risk of running afoul or existing characters. I have been screaming that since the
Yeah.
first ended. The common consensus seems to be that McGregor's hero should not link up with other characters in the franchise, but instead highlight the isolation needed to protect Luke from afar. Another fan added, we've got all the fan service in the first season. Honestly, it was more than plenty. If we're going to do this, I would prefer an entirely new novel story involving an aging Obi-Wan, new characters with a new story, maybe even on a new planet, which that people would lose their mind if he left the planet again. Just
Yeah.
something that doesn't screw up the continuity going into A New Hope. Yes. John Jackson Miller's book, Kenobi, which I was fortunate enough just last summer to go down and get signed by John Jackson Miller. He's going around different
Wow.
places. It's written the Living Force, and that book. And I don't know when we're going to talk about it, but self-contained Western mystery, dives really deep into the Sand People, the Tusken Raiders, lore. And there's room to make some changes to it. Jabba the Hutt's goons. I mean, you could do a lot of things and never, ever, 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 ever break canon.
Hmm.
So I would definitely be here, and I think that is an intelligent place to start because the book is really, really good. So
Obviously, we'll get into it, but I really do feel like the Jackson story specifically is. I do feel like when he was writing it, he was specifically tailoring it. That yes, it exists in kind of like the outer rim of Star Wars canon, if you will. But it was very much tailored that if they ever decided they wanted to serialize it or televise it or turn it into a film, there it was. I know that was potentially initially one of the plans for Kenobi, but when it was a movie before it became a TV series. So please let that be such a huge, huge part of it. After that really exciting introduction, I kind of think it's only fair that we get into some of our own ideas for a season two. And we've even got this is crazy, guys. We posted about this on our Instagram at the start of the week when the story broke. And we have never, at least while I've been like on the social media and part of this podcast, we have never had a post blow up like that. 78 comments, over 2,000 likes. People just kept going and going. We had such a huge mix of input, people who were all for it, people who were super against it, people who were on the fence. That's why I love doing this. That's what makes this so, so, so much fun. But before we get into any of that, Jimmy, what do you want from a season two of Kenobi? Tell me all about it.
I mean, I hate to cop out and be like, I want that book, but I
No,
kind of want that book. I mean,
tell me.
it just, well, I don't want to like ruin the book for everybody, because I think you should read. I know it's not canon anymore. It's probably, I mean, it's like one of two non-canon books that I've read. I mean, you can see it
Mm,
comes out in 2013, and then 2014 it becomes EU, the year later or whatever. But this book, he lands. He's not really sure. That's just the thing too. Is like, and it's not so grounded and so specific that you couldn't say, okay, well, he's done. We already have Kenobi season one because this book takes place like his first week of being back. You could easily just kind of shift it, especially with Owen wanting him to give them space,
mm-hmm,
because this during this book he never interacts with Luke. He just kind of sits back from afar. There's some things that happen at the end. He doesn't directly. Luke never knows he's there. We'll just put it that way. And but the story is not about Luke. It's about him trying to help these families because it's like it's another small town. I honestly cannot remember the name of the town. I was actually trying to start listening to it last night while we were driving home just to get a refresher. But it was, like I said, this was like between 12 a.m. and 3 a.m. So a little cloudy.
oh
But
man.
um, just this family on hard times, shop owners. You have an enterprising gentleman and his family. You've got it's this whole western where like the sand people. I know people. I don't know which one is considered like not nice to call them, but the Tusken Raiders getting a bad rap. But then the Tusken Raider stuff is awesome. It talks
Mm,
about the two sons. It gives the stories about the two sons. It talks about a lot of the things, how their culture is, and then of course how things end is crazy. Very satisfying ending to that book. There's some stuff with Jabba the Hutt's goons because they're trying to kind of muscle in on them. There's so much potential to take that at its core, skeleton, just kind of skeleton it and then add things to it. You wouldn't have to
mm,
bring in Vader. You don't have to bring in any more Inquisitors. You don't have to do anything but be on that planet in that town that it takes place in. And I apologize that I can't think of the name of the town. Um, and you would have a really great, if they're just going to do 6 episodes again,
mm-hmm.
it'd be perfect. It really would. I mean, it would be slow moving, a couple action scenes, obviously a big build up to the end. But you could do it a lot more if you got the right people in it.
Yeah.
A lot more somewhere between Kenobi season one and Andor. Like you could kind of make it a little bit more, kind of gritty. I think with the
Mm,
storyline. So, and I have some other things, but I really think, Jabba the Hutt's goons, you could have a lieutenant or a captain that's kind of running that area for him. You know, one of his governors or whatever. I mean, it is on Tatooine, but it's a big planet. He could be the problem, dealing with things, trying to cover that up. How they're going to do that? Like, there's a lot of, you know, if you got clever writers, and there's so many good writers out there. They just need to, you know, I bet you John Jackson Miller's probably thought, how could we do this now? You know, he's had
Yeah.
to have. His guy's mind's always going. So I think there's a lot of potential just to take that and go with it. And I would be, even though I know how the story ends, I'd still be satisfied to see it play out on the screen. So, but
I think that sounds absolutely fantastic. Clearly, this is a particular bit of Star Wars literature that you are super, super passionate about, and that makes me so, so happy to see. It's not one that I've read, but I'm aware of. I'm aware of the plot points. I'm aware of kind of the general arc of the story, and I think from my own perspective, it needs to be this self-contained, only on Tatooine story. I agree. I will lose my mind if they take him off planet again. Let him stay there. And I know that we had a lot of interaction with the Tusken Raiders in Book of Boba Fett, and that's a bit that a lot of people hated about that series. It's my favorite bit. I will defend it until I'm blue in the face. It was fascinating to me. Give me more of that. Give me Kenobi actively trying to avoid looking after or having anything to do with Luke because he's so convinced that he's going to like destroy this child the way that he believes he destroyed Anakin. Let him get caught up in local politics, anything to do with Jabba the Hutt, anything to do with the Tusken Raiders, the Jawas, but make it that self-contained story. I know there's potentially the worry. I think while I was kind of spitballing all of these ideas with myself, everything I was kind of coming up with felt like it was straying too close to Book of Boba Fett. But then I reminded myself we wouldn't be able to tell this kind of Kenobi story if it wasn't for the stories that were told in Book of Boba Fett that expanded Tatooine into this living, breathing community and culture, not just community but culture specifically, the Dune Sea, the Twin Suns. Give me more of that in a way that allows Obi-Wan Kenobi to recover. This is a big part because you've got me started now. Obviously Alec Guinness's portrayal of Obi-Wan Kenobi, when he talks about kind of um uh, I served with your father in the Clone Wars. Obviously, we're reading into because we know the kind of the prequel bit of it, but you can see that there's trauma, but there's also a level of peace. There's a level of kind of zen that he has achieved. I want to know how we get there from the traumatized, frightened, post-traumatic stress disorder riddled Kenobi that we see in the Kenobi series. Give me that gap, please. I don't want them to ignore that. I don't want them to leave that alone. I need that to be the driving force behind this entire series. Not a threat from the Empire, not a threat from the Inquisitors, the threat from his own mental health. And I know that might sound a bit dramatic to say, but if he's accessing the ghost of it's don't, because I've got a whole list of things that I need to see.
yes, 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 yes. Because that's the thing, is you could think about the conversations between Qui-Gon and Kenobi. Kenobi dealing with the fall of Anakin. He could be having flashbacks from the Clone Wars. So think
Hmm.
about this, right? So like the book in itself, there's not a ton of action, things happening, it's slow moving, and I can see like people go, "Oh, that's kind of boring for a TV show." What if he's having nightmares of things that happen in the Clone Wars and seeing flashes of Anakin and not being like, "How'd I miss that? How'd I miss that?" And him and Qui Gon, and then add this to the mix: him and Satine's year away.
Don't. Because one of the things I need to see in this, I need Satine. I need them to tie that together. You cannot give me such an emotionally developed relationship in the Clone Wars where it physically hurts me to watch them together and then ignore it in all of the live action. Like, please, please.
Just think about, you could do so much with, you know how they did at the end of Clone Wars with Kenobi kind of realizing what's happening with him and with Anakin and Padme, and he kind of
Yes.
brushes it off. And we know that like Filoni and them kind of put that in there to explain why Kenobi kind of let it brush that way. He understands it,
Hmm.
but he made the right choice. He expects Anakin to make the right choice. But like, you could just have this whole like, there is so much to pull from. I mean, I think it would be harder to decide what you're going to put into this show than what it would be to
Yes.
actually come up with the show, because you have think about seeing like maybe something from the Clone Wars in live action, maybe her death with Maul or something like that, like
Stop it.
seeing that live action, or just any of that stuff, any of those scenes. Like, we had that whole year of those two on the run, and that's not high production value. You just put them someplace, you don't tell anybody where they're at, and you just do some low budget, just them being together and what adventures they had together. I mean, I think it's limitless what you could do. Like, obviously, you got to create the story, you got to have it, make it all make sense. It always got to tie back into what's happening on Tatooine at the time.
Hmm.
But because there's kind of like a love interest, like this woman's kind of, I mean, how could you not be, you know, attracted to Obi-Wan Kenobi with just his presence, and he's not asking for anything from you, he's not hitting, what I mean, he's just being a gentleman. And so you can see why, like, um there's a woman, main character, and she's her son and her daughter, and that's a whole thing. But yeah, I just think that the potential for what you could put into this, the conversations with Qui-Gon, because in that book he's struggling to talk to Qui-Gon, so you'd kind of
Mm,
have to work around the fact that Qui-Gon shows up. But I think that makes it even better, because then you can change things. So people like myself who have read the book multiple times or listened to it, you're getting new stuff.
yeah.
You're getting, like, hey, how did I miss this? Well, and then Qui-Gon's like, you're being too hard on yourself or whatever. And you don't even have to get because technically, I don't know if Qui-Gon should have shown back up in Force Ghosts, because he didn't really learn how to do that yet. But um, you don't have to necessarily get Liam Neeson to come back for it. You could just use his voice.
Do.
So, or his son's voice, because his son did a great job at being him in the Tales of the Jedi.
Yes, that's a very good point, actually. So this is something I did sort of want to sink my teeth into. The Obi-Wan Kenobi Qui-Gon Jinn relationship is one of my favorites in Star Wars, and the Kenobi losing Qui-Gon in the way that he did is the start of Kenobi's emotional kind of downturn as a character and the start of his emotional torment. I don't care what else they do with the rest of the series. I need one episode. I need dinner with Andre style. I need static camera, the two of them sat in the cave, and I need them to talk. There are 100 conversations that I need the pair of them to have. I want Kenobi to apologize for not being able to save his master. I want to see him emotionally process the fall of Anakin with the only character who ever had any time for Kenobi's feelings. Really genuinely in the context of the Jedi. And yeah, Qui-Gon was considered a maverick for that, but at least he was kind to Obi-Wan. At least there was something there of I care about how you're feeling right now. I need to see Qui-Gon lift the guilt from his Padawan's shoulders and remind him that the will of the Force is ultimately all that they can follow. And if the Force willed Anakin to be Vader, then so be it. I need, ultimately, what I need Qui-Gon to tell Obi-Wan that he's not a failure and it isn't his fault.
Yeah, I think, who's the guy who directed the first Joker? Well, the second Joker movie, but it wasn't very good. The first Joker movie was the mental side of things. Like, I can't think of his name, but like, you get someone like that to come in and write something with this, and just like the mental anguish that Kenobi, he's done
Yes.
his thing. He's probably gonna be like, oh, like, back to, here we go again. We're back to nothing,
Hmm.
and just working through all this stuff. I mean, I know not every Star Wars fan is gonna love the stuff that you just said, but I think if you're into storytelling and you're into character development, you get flashbacks of things, you get your action and your pew pew and your
Mm.
lightsabers. This could be an amazing, amazing story, and it could set the tone for things to be different, because we all, I mean, we have 2 episodes out basically of what the new Jedi Order could look like. You and Jack did it, Mike and I did it. This could really help set the tone for the things that need to change, because you have like a pillar of what a Jedi is supposed to be like. If anyone's by the
Hmm.
book, it's Kenobi until he's not. You know what I mean? Like, he does
Yeah.
everything by the book, and then it's the times he doesn't do things by the book that usually gets him out of trouble. But um, and then those hardcore fans that are having a hard time accepting anything new. And I don't want to be negative about that. Like, I get it. Like, you love what you love, but it's time for things to evolve a little bit. It has to. Like, it's stupid if it doesn't. I feel. if you have someone like Ewan McGregor kind of ushering that in
Yeah.
for people my age and older, and that generation, and you're like, oh, well, Ewan McGregor says this, everything we've been screaming for, it would be okay when Ray does it then, because he's the
Yeah.
first person Ray hears. Kenobi's the first person, like these are your first steps. Like you could make that
Stop.
connection, and yeah, like you could really do a lot to kind of bring the fandom back together by using Kenobi to set things up for Ray. And then you can almost kind of explain that connection too, where it's like, this is why he's the one who spoke to her, because he realizes what's happening. You know what I mean?
Right. First and foremost, how dare you? How dare you make me? How dare you?
I did not mean to make Charlie cry.
You can't bring up my two favorite characters and connect them like that. How dare I forget? I forget that he made a secret cameo in The Rise of Skywalker to say these are your first steps, Ray. Bye. Absolutely out the window. Good gracious.
Yeah.
I, I think they could do. We saw so much action and so much lightsaber fighting, and we got to see like the power of like Vader at his absolute peak in that Kenobi series. I don't think the second season needs that. I don't think it needs. Yes, I would. I think I even have it in my notes that yes, I want lightsaber fighting. But now that we're talking, I don't know if that's necessary. If Andor can create so much impact and so much emotion with just a conversation, a discussion between two characters in a neutral location where there isn't guns and flashy fighting and CGI everywhere. Give me that for Kenobi. Give me the emotional complexity of a character that I know Ewan McGregor can deliver. I know.
Yeah. I mean,
We
get
saw
the
so
actors,
much of
bring them
it.
in. Be Yeah, and you can still get your lightsaber battles and
Yeah,
flashbacks and things like that.
yeah, in
He's
flashbacks.
having
Use
bad dreams.
flashbacks.
He's having bad dreams every night, and those things are leading to his decisions. The
Hmm.
Force works in mysterious ways. We hear it all the time.
It
Like
does.
you could, I mean, it's going to take someone smarter than me to do that, but like you have the potential to really fix the fandom and set things up for the future more so in this than you do anywhere else, I think.
I would 100% agree. Alas, I am not the person clever enough to weave that tapestry together, but I would like to think that if this is legitimately happening, that I do feel like this is the point now that Ewan McGregor would have something to do like with it himself. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him as like an EP credit at the end.
Oh, yeah.
This is a character that he sat with and spent time with and has had such a long history with now, and obviously means so much to him. This was the start of his acting kind of career. This was the start of everything for him, and I think he wants to see this story tied off and finished and ended properly so that we have that complete timeline from when we meet him as a Padawan in The Phantom Menace. I'd like to see them go back and kind of talk about his brother. I think that was a storyline that didn't end up being finished
Mm,
in season one. And I know there's in the Legends canon, there's some stuff about a brother, Planet
yeah, I think
Godajon,
so.
something along those lines. I can vaguely.
It's Planet Stew John because it's after John
Stujon,
Stewart.
there we go. Yeah, yes.
So yeah, I think there's time. I mean, again, like for me, it's a no-brainer to do a second series of this because it could
Yeah.
just there's so much you could put into it. I mean, I think I my problem is only 6 episodes. Like I want 12.
Yeah, I want
I
20.
want I want yeah, okay. I want a full I want 12 1-hour episodes,
Hmm.
and you could just do some really great things with it. But I mean, is there anything else you think that you want to see? I see your notes. I think you should mention a few of these, especially at the bottom. Did you mention
Uh,
the class stuff?
I will also accept cameos and sneak peeks from Quinlan Voss. Please and thank you. He was mentioned in season one.
Hmm.
Show him in season two. He is still alive. He'd still be alive, right? Forgive me, my canon knowledge
Yeah.
is not
If he has not gotten judo chopped by an Inquisitor or Vader, then he should still be alive.
exceptional. Satine, I will take this in vision form. I will take this in some kind of force ghost form. Regardless, I need that to be addressed. I need that to be legitimately addressed by a human being in front of a camera, not just an animated like thing. I will. also accept a really trippy episode where it's just Kenobi meditating in his cave, but he's actually being spoken to by all of the Jedi. It's not just Qui-Gon,
Oh, it's
Yoda,
sick.
and it's literally everybody else. But I want it like, if this is the beginning of him connecting to his Force communication abilities, I need it to be like some kind of like LSD mind trip. I need it to be quite disturbing.
Just like overwhelming.
Yes,
Because I mean, he'd be
overwhelming.
like the first.
Just
He'd be like the first vessel for all these Jedi to have passed from all these different time periods. You could even bring in people like Stellan Gios and Avar Kriss, all these High Republic people, and bring them in and just be like, "This is the voice of it," or whatever. Yeah, you could have some fun with voices just popping into his head whenever he's in the middle of something, or you could have a little bit of comedy with it as well. I mean, we know Ewan McGregor is a
yes.
funny guy, so you could do some really clever things where like he just doesn't know how to control it yet because and that's part of his journey. Like Jedi are never done learning.
No,
You know.
exactly, exactly. This is literally what Ahsoka has been saying to Sabine while I've been in the middle of like we've moved on to Ahsoka now, and yeah, this idea that Jedi never stop learning, and even if you put it down, it doesn't mean that you've lost it. It's like riding a bike; it's muscle memory. It will all come back eventually. I did have on my notes about Obi-Wan gaining another kind of sidekick, Padawan, trainee, some kind of straggler for him to pick up because I think, yes, do all of this emotional heavy lifting, show, don't tell the growth of that through a relationship with another kind of character that needs his help, whether that's, I don't know, a Tuscan child, whether that's the possibilities are endless, but show him having a healthy, fulfilled, proper kind of partnership, friendship,
Yeah.
mentor student friendship relationship with another person that it doesn't fall to pieces like it did with Anakin, with Ahsoka, like it did with quite like give me that. Do the show, don't tell. Sometimes Star Wars can be a little bit heavy on the I'm going to just tell you what's going on and how I'm feeling rather than showing that physical development. Sequel films, I'm looking at you.
Yeah, I can't say how many. I mean, just the potential for it. And I've seen things about like Darth Crate and stuff like that. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
necessarily the right idea because I just feel like that's going to bring. I mean, unless you're out in the middle of the desert and there's nothing going on, you know what I mean? Like there's like
Excuse me, teacher, who is Darth Crate?
super. He so well, from my understanding, is the Tusken Raider Jedi.
Whoa.
If I'm getting this right now, we may get blown up in our YouTube comments or in let me know because I don't have the reference because I do believe Darth Crate is definitely an EU character. From my understanding though, is it's a Jedi that was with the Tusken Raiders, and you could have something happening there, and you could have Kenobi save this one maybe.
Hmm.
You know, but I don't know how you do that without having another Sith there, and so I think
Yeah.
that story. And again, I apologize, and I know. Please don't be screaming at me through at your car speakers right now or your television. I do apologize. There's a lot of things in Star Wars. It's like when kids ask me, "Well, don't you know everything about history?" I'm like, no, I know a lot, but I don't know everything." I think that story seems a little dangerous to me. It opens up the whole thing with like the Sith. There hasn't been Sith for millennia, and all these different things because something happens in Trials of the Jedi that I'm
Hmm.
like, well, wait, like I don't want to give anything away, but like I'm like, oh, that's a problem. So not in a way that I'm like, oh, you've ruined Star Wars. I'm like, okay, how are they going to resolve this? Not like a rational human being. How do they resolve this
Mm.
so that when Yoda says those things or Kiadi when he says those things? But yeah, so.
I think so. This leads really nicely into kind of what we don't want to see in this series and what we don't think would work. And I think the more you try and expand into anything to do with the Sith, anything to do with what's going on off planet, even like I said in my notes of what I wanted to see, I put something down about some Inquisitors. Now we've talked about it, I don't actually think that's a necessary plot point. I don't think we need anything from the outside. And also, you see this a lot in the kind of fan replies that we'll get to in a little bit. People don't want anything that's going to tread on the toes of the original trilogy. I know, I recognize how precious that is to people, how kind of up on a pedestal the original trilogy is within Star Wars. And I get it. I wouldn't want to touch it and mess with it either. So for me, especially if we do get a season 2 of Kenobi, I don't want to see Vader. I don't want to hear Vader. I don't want to smell Vader. I will accept characters mentioning him for the sake of making points or a discussion, especially Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, Kenobi discussion idea, but let him lie this time. We got so much of him in season 1. We are going to get so much more of him and Hayden Christensen in Ahsoka season 2. Use his voice, maybe. I would possibly accept that, but any more than that, I don't think is necessary this time around. Make it just for Kenobi. And yeah, I think protecting the original trilogy is essential.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be careful, and that's the big thing. I mean, a birthday upset people, so you've got to be
Yeah,
careful what
yeah,
you're doing. And I understand that you need to respect what came before, but you
of
also have to
course.
figure out ways, because like they've done a really good job. And here comes Jimmy on his High Republic stuff again, but they have started weaving things in to the stuff that people love from the High Republic, and now it's becoming a thing where it's always been a part of it. It's always been a part of it. In 5 years, the High Republic will have been a beloved, or um, I'm one with the Force. The Force is with me. So, um, and that from Rogue One, but now that's been part of different things in Star Wars. Like there's clever ways, in just take Kevin Feige's model and you just introduce little things here and there, and then
Hmm.
when you have it happen in Mando, you have it happen in Ahsoka season 2. They use different words and different language, and
Breadcrumbs.
yeah, yes, you don't have to slap us across the face with it, because that's when fans get upset. Is
Hmm.
when something changes. When you trick them, they don't even realize it's happening, and then it's just, that's always been a part of it. And I think that's the way they need to go.
Is there anything else you really don't want to see?
I don't want to see Vader. I want to see flashbacks of Hayden, or of Anakin and Kenobi, and him seeing these flashes like we
Yeah.
got to see in the Clone Wars. I want to see that, but I don't want to see Vader again. I think that needs to go. I don't want to see Inquisitors. You can't bring too many outside forces to Tatooine, because that's going to draw everyone's attention to that planet. And it's supposed to be a planet that no one, that's the furthest away from everything, but everything happens on anyway. So it's a
Yes.
difficult balance. You just tied into I don't want to see a CGI Jabba the Hutt either. I want to see a
No.
real Hutt. If they're gonna do, if they're gonna bring in Jabba the Hutt or something like that, or a Hutt in general, I want to see. Yes, I want to see them dust off old Return of the Jedi Jabba the Hutt,
Oh
and
no.
see how
No,
he.
no, no. That's rotting in a basement. Don't look for that one.
But you know what I mean. I just don't want to see that, because the Manda or the Book of Boba Fett, those Hutts, they made me cringe.
Yeah, they weren't
So
great.
yeah, but there's not a lot that I'm like against. I just want it to make sense. I don't want it to.
Hmm.
I want to stay away from breaking canon. I guess I mean, people's like, kind of relative, I guess, or subjective, not relative. But yeah, just know Vader's a big one. I don't think it's necessary. Not as Vader, as Anakin. Yes, no Vader, or maybe I don't know, because I just think, because the last time I met you, so that they dealt with that. They've dealt with the last time, right before, when he says it in New Hope. They
Hmm.
can't bring those two back together. That would be a big no no. So
Exactly, exactly. I if you feel like you've said all that you've said, I'm happy to move on to our very, very long list of fan responses, because goodness me, did you guys have
yeah,
opinions?
that's awesome. Yeah, no, yeah, I think we're good. I mean, obviously we could continue this conversation forever, but um,
I
I'm
mean,
glad I
I'm
didn't
good.
write down all the stuff. I started planning out like 6 episodes of how it was going to break down. I'm like, yeah, we have enough from the fans and from the listeners and the viewers. I think I want to hear what they have to say too, because I didn't get the access to these when it was happening, so I get to see it now. So I'm pretty excited to
Ah,
hear
well,
say.
I'm going to kick us off with a regular contributor to the show, my fave cardboard cutout cosplay, Simon. He said, I'm in two minds. One, yes, I would love to see more Obi-Wan Kenobi. But a little bit mixed because I felt like season one ended so perfectly. Why would we want a season two? That's fair. That's absolutely fair. I think a lot of people thought that the season one was such a perfectly contained story. It was really nicely bookended. It slotted perfectly in with kind of everything else. And I can see why you'll see in some of the comments later on, like Simon's not the only person who feels this way.
Yeah, so at Bushuda 1977, shrug emoji. I'd be up for more if the story makes sense within the timeline. I enjoyed the first one, and that final battle with Vader and Obi-Wan was simply stellar, Star Wars, and heartbreaking. Yeah, you can't bring Vader back. Like
Yeah,
that's gonna
you
get in trouble.
can't. You absolutely can't. I I genuinely I do want to just take a minute to talk about that lightsaber fight specifically. I am a hardcore prequels fan. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker are some of my all-time favorites, and someone I've been so passionate about their friendship, their relationship, however you wish to define it, for a long time. And that was such a sweet spot for a little super fan like me. That was perfection from start to finish of that entire episode. It was beautifully done. Beautifully done. Don't touch it anymore. Leave it. Draw a line and
Now,
carry on.
yeah, my only complaint was that they split it up. Like it wasn't just a one big solid. You know what I mean? They put stuff in there with
Yeah.
I, you know, that is my only complaint really. I know people were really mad about Kenobi not being like him having to level up, but I think the payoff at the end was pretty cool. So
I would have to agree. We had Dylan does cosplay. Jack said, what can they do? I thought it was a good story for one season, and any more could ruin the reunion of Obi-Wan and Vader in episode 4. See, the people know. The people know what they want, and they are absolutely correct. Like, you can't have them reunite again. You can't have no.
mm-mm. At basement Beskar cosplaying, Eli says, "Oh, it's crazy old man in the desert time, baby."
Yeah. Yes. We had a grumpy old trainer who said, "Don't bring Vader back in. Do not use the same director and stop breaking what was established in the original trilogy." We have got some firm opinions here, ladies and gentlemen. The first season could have been amazing without Leia or Vader in it and just had Obi-Wan helping other Jedi against the Inquisitors. See, I think that premise could work really well for season two. I think we had the kind of season. I think season one important was for important nostalgia purposes as well. Like, yes, we're bringing Kenobi back, but here's everyone else that you've missed and are really in love with and obsessed with and haven't thought about since you were a kid. There's a there's a level of those gears that kind of needed greasing. So yeah, give me a stripped back second season and let the first season be that kind of full, big, bold story.
Yeah, I could see if they had planned multiple seasons to like build like what he says here, like Jedi and against Inquisitor. I would have
Hmm.
liked that, and of course, like season one ends with like Vader, like, oh, I'm going to Tatooine or whatever, something. Um, but I think you also have to remember this was filmed during COVID, and Deborah Chow's episodes are still my favorite in
Yeah,
Mando. Um, would I would like to see like Bryce Dallas Howard in this role? Absolutely. I mean, I think there's lots of talented people. I mean, you could always bring back Gareth Edwards. I mean, there's all kinds of people, but I think that um, maybe you bring in like one or two directors to kind of work together because I do think that having gotten Deborah Chow's episodes in Mandalorian, I was expecting more from
hmm,
Kenobi than I got. But then, of course, there was the scenes like coming through, like when he's in that village on that planet. That's what I expected to see more of.
yeah.
Episode 3, I think, right? But I do know they were working with a lot of restrictions and things like that because of COVID. So
Massively.
I think it's unfair to necessarily judge her 100%. She should be judged for it, but there were restrictions, things they could and couldn't do. Um, I'd be down for it a second time, but I'd also be up for like Bryce Dallas finally getting her own deal because we have talked to so many people on this show that love this woman, and I just
It's
think
me.
it's her time. Yes, it's you. It's the actors that we've talked to. It's the behind the scenes people that we've talked to. They love her. So, um, at Patrick Package says, "Let's have that Commander Cody story now." I forgot about that. Resolve some old war trauma whilst having a fun adventure. That would be all right.
Yeah.
Problem is, you're taking him off world. The whole point of him being there is that he can still kind of get back and see. But that is definitely a story and some
Mm,
emotions that I would not mind seeing
mm,
him and Cody hashing things out because that could be a real good cop, bad cop kind of thing, or just some
mhm.
hard feelings, or whatever. I do like that idea. I don't know how that works. Not breaking canon though.
Shh. It's
Yeah,
fine.
I
It's
like
fine. It's not a problem. Patrick, I think that might be one of my favorite comments. Thank you so, so much. Hi-Fi Designs said Kenobi season 2 would be best if it were from the perspective of Vader. Ooh. Following him in the aftermath of season 1, cut to Kenobi on Tatooine now and then, show his training with Qui-Gon. Heck, even show a bit of Yoda on Dagobah. Cool, 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 cool. But really, the Jedi need to be in hiding, avoiding adventure. So let's have a season of Vader hunting other Jedi and dealing with Kenobi kicking his bum and the fallout and rage of that humiliation. A really, really interesting take.
I don't know you necessarily call it Kenobi season 2, but I would definitely be down. I have been down for a Vader series of just. But again, it's that thing too. If you use them too much, is you're going to start to lose because, like, if he gets smoked, he keeps winning, and whatever. I think there's issues with using him too much.
Yes.
So, um, but I would definitely be down for Vader hunting down other Jedi because
Hmm.
in the comic book, there's a short run called Inquisitors, and they're chasing this Jedi Tenzu run, and he beats Inquisitors, and finally Vader's like, "All right, damn it, I'll do it. I got to do it myself." You know what I mean? You could easily make that comic series into a
If you want a job doing well, do it yourself. Vader season 1.
yeah. So, all right, where are we? Okay, how do you say that one? At Ia
uh,
Chu? Chewie?
yeah,
Chew? Yeah, Chewie. Only if Gareth Edwards or Tony Gilroy is writing or directing it. Yeah, I brought up Tony. I brought up Gareth Edwards.
you
I
did.
think from what I understand, didn't he just do the new Jurassic World movie that's out and that
He
people are
did,
liking
yes.
it? Maybe he gets back into it. I don't know why people turn their back on that man. He did 99% of that movie really, really well. He just needed
Hmm.
help with the finish. But yeah, I'm down for that. More Gareth Edwards, please.
Absolutely. Any more Tony Gilroy in Star Wars, I will also absolutely support. Mamas05 said, I hope season 2 has nothing to do with the Empire, especially Vader at least. Not sure what else there is for Disney to add. Maybe something to do with Luke.
Just a kid learning how to be a farmer.
Yeah.
Ouch. Rob Goff 5437 says they've got to do Darth Maul even though they killed him off in Rebels. Would you want to see that scene played
See,
out? And that timeline doesn't really work. Like, well, I mean, I guess it does, but you're kind of closing the door on anything else because I mean that's like right up to almost a New Hope time period. But I don't know if I want that scene played out again. But it is glorious. Twin Sons episode, season 3, episode like 21 or 22, I think.
you are such a big nerd. I adore you.
It's one of my go tos. I go back and I just watch it, and I learned so much about Star Wars from that episode, like about myself and about being a fan and being like disappointed in that lightsaber battle. Then I heard Ace Cabrera talk about it, and I was like, Jimmy, you're an idiot. You got to look deeper into stuff, man. And I was like, just learned so much from that episode of Rebels. I think people because when I first saw it, I expected this big epic fight, and it's like bam, 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 and it's over. And I'm like, oh, that was dumb in my first reaction. And then I
Hmm.
kind of learned listening to other people talk about stuff. Ace Cabrera, I think he was on Force Center podcast, and he just goes off about it. And he's really kind of set the tone, I think, for people understanding like that short fight scene was so much more than just 3 or 4 moves. It was the
Mhm.
Jedi versus the Sith. I don't know. It's phenomenal. Sorry, that always gets me.
No, this is why I love talking to people who've watched more Star Wars and know more Star Wars than I do, because I get to learn and experience things like this. It makes me so, so happy. We had a comment from Nikki Taylor, who this one I just had to put in because it made me laugh. It's just in capital letters and then hashtag Kenobi girly. Me too, Queen. Me too. All
Yeah,
Kenobi, all
absolutely.
day. Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, and was it Reese indeed says as long as Vader isn't included, don't want them meeting too much. His fight with Maul would be cool as well. So we got another thing
Yeah,
there too.
I saw even on Reddit when I scrolled through, because I'm a big sad nerd. I scrolled through the entire thread. The amount of people who were saying that I do think they might end up putting Maul in. I don't know how that would work. I guess as like a not a replacement for Vader, but like an alternative to that sort of big bad. Yeah, I've seen it
See that?
suggested a lot, and hmm.
I mean, you'd have live action Ezra now. You could, because there's things happening with Maul, and there's things happening with Kenobi. I mean, it could be one of those things that brings it together. But if they changed that scene, I think that would be devastating to Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
I think that's not something that they're going to do, just because. Well, the man mostly in charge of Star Wars now, is the guy who created that scene. He's not going to retcon himself, I don't think. So,
No, I
but
don't think so.
I understand the love and the passion for it, because I'm like, yeah, I'd love to see that, but I don't know. I think it's tricky.
Well, the last little bit of our fan interaction, besties, if you didn't know, we have a Discord. It's great fun, very
Yeah,
enjoyable. You get to interact with us directly. Yes, you get to contribute to what we talk about on future episodes, which I think is so, so cool. So we had loads of responses for this. Dearest Jack very kindly posted a poll in our discussion channel and said, if a series 2 happens, what does that look like? The options he posted were: does Qui-Gon appear? Does Luke get us some bother? And does Obi-Wan leave the planet? And I'm going to be honest, 75% of those votes for were does Qui-Gon appear? So I think it's very clear that the people know what the people want, which is Liam Neeson
yeah,
with the fake sideburn stuck on, doing his Qui-Gon Jinn voice.
almost as bad as Mark Hamill's hair in The Rise of Skywalker. So not good.
You
If
leave
you're
that
gonna
wig
do it,
alone.
do it. Oh, it's so bad. Here we go. At Crimson Cosplay, Matt says there'll definitely be emphasis on Qui-Gon, considering where they left off in season 1. I think there's still quite a big difference between Obi-Wan and Ben Kenobi's characters. That's a really good
Hmm.
point. Obi-Wan to me was always quite on edge and wanting to do things by the book, whereas Ben seems like whatever happens happens kind of guy. That brings up a really good point. That I think this is a really good point, Matt. We always talk about Anakin versus Vader, but we don't really talk about Obi-Wan versus Ben.
Yeah.
This would be a great character study. I think like that's, and I think I even mentioned that like he's kind of, there is a change. There is a,
Yes.
that's a really good point.
Clan Brandalorian said, ever since Jimmy told me about the Kenobi novel, this second season could really, really dive into that. See his run in with the Tuscans and Chrysanthemum for sure. And Ewan's been talking about wanting a season 2 since the summer of 2022. And yeah, like Matt said, Ewan McGregor himself has been like, I want to know how we get from Kenobi to Ben Kenobi. Like, a character study is a perfect way of putting it. I think that would sum up a season 2 beautifully.
Do you think it works? And I apologize. I know we're running long, but I
No.
have all these questions. Do you think it works with, there were some really impactful emotional moments in season 1. Like that's what saved season 1 for
Hmm.
me when I first watched through it. Like his moments with Leia, his speech with Leia at the end, Anakin, him, I killed him and all these different things like that. If you go from that and, and Haja and all these different characters, and you go to like a pretty intense does it work, or are we running into like sequel trilogy issues of like the Force Awakens versus the Last Jedi versus the Rise of Skywalker? I mean, you know what I mean? Like just something I was thinking about kind of popped into my head because I know what we want as Star Wars fans. We're fresh off of Andor. We really want that intensity. So I think they'd have to be careful with it because it would feel like two very different seasons if they're not. Some
Yeah.
humor with the Jawas and things like that. So I don't know.
Yeah, obviously, I know that we've discussed like some very serious topics for this potential second season. I need like the comedy, I need the softening, especially like you see it a lot in the Book of Boba Fett, and it's something that I really, really enjoyed. There's high peril, high stakes, good humor, like a good laugh out loud, silly Star Wars time, and that's what I think is so, so essential to these stories.
Absolutely. Mick Gilroy said in reference to Daniel RPK, apparently Jeff Snyder said he's commenting on the Kenobi season 2 later that day. Memory serves me correctly. Daniel RPK hasn't got the greatest track record. In
Yeah,
his defense, he did say it was a rumor. Edit. Just check the hot mic, not to mention, unless it's coming on newsletter. And I did remember I reached out to Nick on that, and I hadn't seen anything. I didn't know if we missed it or what. Jeff Snyder usually um, he gets some stuff. He does get the
yeah.
inside scoop all the time. So I haven't heard back from Nick on that. So I'll be curious, Nick, if you had seen or heard anything.
Indeed. Thank you. I really appreciate having this kind of extra thread for insider information as well. Someone else who has access to those other channels. That's absolutely fantastic for us. Our very own Commander Taylor, love you Taylor, miss you, said, I would really like if they focused an episode or two on the path for the Force sensitives.
I think that should be its own show, Taylor. You're so right. Uh,
Yeah, 100%.
there's so much, but I do
100%.
think. I mean, a couple weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, Brandon, Laura, and I did a whole episode on why I think the path is what's going to bring everything together.
Hmm.
So the path is super important. Um, Des Smith says Obi-Wan is a beloved character and Ewan is a legend, but if they do a season 2, it has to be top notch. Season 1 had some immense scenes, but for me overall, it felt a bit flat. That was disappointing as they've had so many years to come up with a banger of a storyline. I just worry that they make a season 2 as fans love. I just worry that they make it in season 2 as fans love Obi-Wan and Ewan is vocal about coming back and not due to them having a superb storytelling. Absolutely, Des.
Yeah,
Absolutely should not. Don't just make it to make it. Make it because you have a story to tell that's going to, and that's why everything we've said earlier in the last hour. There's so much potential.
yeah.
They're setting things up, and just you could do a lot. You could do a lot of character development. And it sounds like from all the listeners and viewers and the people on our Discord that's what they want. They want that character development. They don't want just pew 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 and
No.
lightsabers. They want that, but they want it which is cool to see people kind of
Are we
care about stuff.
maturing as Star Wars
That's
fans?
what I was gonna say, and
Are we
that's not a
growing
knock
up?
on anyone who's just on the fandom in general. Like they're kind of maybe Andor's had a more of effect on people than they even realize. Like so, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like to go see a John Wick movie where there's no point to it. It's just
Yeah.
you hurt his dog and he's gonna take you out. Like I'm fine with that too, but you had to have a story to tell. So, any last thoughts, Charlie, on any of this stuff?
I actually think that sums us up and puts the full stop at the end perfectly. I think that was a fantastic discussion.
Yeah.
A huge,
All right.
huge, huge thank you to every single person who joined in, sent a message, replied, commented, contributed, DM'd us. Eh, Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Well, if you have any questions or just want to have your voice heard, then DM us on our socials, send us an email or voice note at exploretheforce@gmail.com. And remember to like this episode, share it with your Star Wars friends and family. To follow us on all social media platforms, all you have to do is search Explore the Force, all one word. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Also, if you want to show your support and spread the word around by image as well as voice, head over to Redbubble. There's currently 25% off all merchandise this week.
Yeah.
And search Explore the Force, where you can purchase unique merchandise. And again, I've said this before and I will keep saying it. Thank you to every single person who interacts with us via our social media. You keep this podcast amazing.
Close your eyes.
Has been awesome. Finally, you have been listening or watching Explore the Force, and we have spoken. We'll see you guys next week.
As wise as Master Yoda, as powerful as Master Windu.
They'll do their job well. I'll guarantee that.
I am going to end this once and for all.
You are the chosen one!